Life and work in extreme conditions. This is why offshore oil rig workers earn so much money. Hi and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take an in-depth look at what it takes for people to work in extreme conditions, such as on offshore oil rigs. These massive rigs float in the middle of the vastness of the open ocean, miles away from the nearest coast. Offshore oil rigs are extremely dangerous places to work and come with a slew of overwhelming emotional and physical challenges. For example, employees have to work continuous 12-hour shifts. There are no days off. They have to spend a lot of time away from their families and have to constantly adapt to environmental challenges. It can be backbreaking and dangerous work, involving a careful understanding and use of all the necessary safety protocols and equipment. However, have you wondered just why offshore oil rig workers earn such high salaries? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. What are offshore oil rigs? Offshore oil rigs are megastructures that are designed to float in a fixed position on open water, which are mainly oceans. They're built to continuously extract crude oil embedded deep within the surface of the ocean. The oil that's extracted via exploration and drilling is then transported to facilities where it's then converted into refined oil and petroleum. Oil rigs are carefully positioned in strategic areas where the seabed comprises a vast volume of oil reserves. Some of the most popular areas where you will find oil rigs are the Gulf of Mexico, the North Sea, the Persian Gulf, along with many other parts of the world. These oil rigs contribute to a massive supply of oil and gas and play an instrumental role in energy production and utility throughout the globe. The process of drilling for oil in the ocean. Drilling for oil is a frighteningly arduous process compared to digging a hole and trying to extract oil on land. Why? Well, you're out on the open ocean, far away from the nearest land, and you have to contend with a plethora of logistical issues that involve extracting the crude oil, separating it from the dirt and mud, transporting the oil, and making sure that you don't destroy the environment doing so. After the oil rigging platform is established, next comes the drilling process. The company must come up with effective and efficient ways to extract the oil from the ocean floor while making sure they don't lose any in the process. To drill right into the ocean floor and prevent any water from permeating into that hole or accidentally leaking all the oil into the ocean, a subsea template is utilized, which is, in simpler terms, a kind of metal box that functions as a guide for the drilling effort, marking the location of each oil well. It is only after the template marks everything that drilling is supposed to start. Once a potential location is identified, the drilling process begins. Now, there are two primary types of drilling methods typically deployed, which are known as fixed drilling and floating drilling. Fixed drilling oil rigs, which are known as jack-up rigs, involve positioning the right rig on the top of the oil well and deploying extendable legs. These structures comprise an immensely sturdy and balanced build, are powerfully anchored to the ocean floor, and are mainly utilized in moderately deep and shallow waters. Floating rigs, on the other hand, are designed for partial submersion. These rigs comprise huge ballast tanks that are filled with water, providing the structure balance and stability. The oil rig is built on a drill ship or a triple hull ship, which functions as the primary platform for the rig. These rigs are typically used in ultra-deep sea exploration and drilling operations. What is life like on an offshore oil rig? It's astonishing to know how oil rigs produce billions of barrels of oil and the role they play in helping streamline the global oil supply. They're undoubtedly one of the most important factors that contribute to the world economy. But have you ever thought about what life is like for a worker on an oil rig? As soon as an oil rig worker steps on the platform, their life changes dramatically. For starters, there are regular safety drills and training that need to be practiced. The workers need to wear safety equipment all the time. However, the most challenging aspect of working on an oil rig is the shift times. Rig workers are asked to work 12-hour shifts a day, with regular breaks in between for food and refreshments. You have to understand that an oil rig operates 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. This means everybody's working all the time. In addition, the workers rest and sleep in very small quarters with smaller bathrooms and whatnot. Yes, space is pretty limited, and privacy can also be an issue because you have to share your living quarters with other crew members. However, one of the most harrowing factors that supersede all others is the sheer isolation. Oil rigs are located miles away from the nearest shoreline, which means the only mode of transportation in the event of an emergency is either through a boat or a helicopter. Plus, there aren't a lot of recreational activities available due to space limitations, and internet access is equally poor because of the remote location of an oil rig. Rotational work schedule. Crew members work in rotational shifts on an oil rig. For instance, some workers have a 14-14 schedule, which means they work 8 12-hour shifts for 14 days and take the rest of the 14 days off. This shift rotation offers plenty of rest for employees, and they can even return to their families on their off days. On the other hand, a lot of crew members have a 21-21 shift schedule, which means they work for 21 days and take 21 days off. However, they're also required to work 12-hour shifts. What are the work duties of oil rig workers? Oil rig workers are primarily responsible for drilling and extracting oil using heavy-duty and complex machinery tools. They depend on a slew of equipment required to drill, process, and store crude oil. They work in teams to effectively and efficiently perform complex, laborious tasks such as coordinating, installing, and operating drilling rigs, pipes, and pumps. They are responsible for ensuring all drilling equipment and parameters are set as required, and conduct daily inspections and evaluations of the drilling equipment they use, implementing several quality control measures in functionally maintaining their tools and machinery. They're also required to regularly clean pipes and equipment with power washers, making sure each tool is ready and to be used for the next task. The physically demanding nature of the work and the skills required. Yep, working on an oil rig is not a small task. It's a highly labor-intensive and back-breaking work that requires employees to work 8 to 12-hour shifts every other day for weeks. Plus, they have to work in deadly weather conditions such as thunderstorms and blazing high winds. They have to be in peak physical condition to lift heavy pieces of equipment, such as drill pipes and tools. And they have to do everything wearing safety suits and helmets. It's no joke, really. Apart from being healthy and physically able to lift heavy tools and machinery, oil rig workers also have to learn a variety of skills to perform their tasks effectively. For example, they have to constantly adhere to all the mandatory safety protocols and requirements, making sure they don't put others at any risk of injury. In addition, these workers also need to be technically skilled depending on their job role, as they have to operate different types of machinery and tools, ensure equipment maintenance, repair, etc. So oil rig workers need to have certifications based on their job roles. The hazards involved. Apart from being constantly exposed to the risk of injury because they have to operate dangerous tools and equipment, oil rig workers also have to work in extreme temperatures, whether it's drilling for oil in tropical regions or the Arctic. They have to adapt to these conditions. But what's even more dangerous is the fact that they're drilling for oil at ridiculous depths just below the ocean floor. They effectively create an immensely high amount of pressure that, if not careful, could lead to massive blowouts, which could put their lives in danger. What are the regulations for safety in the offshore oil industry? There are a slew of stringent safety protocols and regulations imposed by global offshore oil drilling companies. These policies are designed to help provide workers with protection, as well as ensuring there's no damage done to the environment as a whole. Regulated and enforced by government entities, oil drilling companies are required by law to implement strict safety management systems that have clearly outlined policies, safety goals, and procedures, making sure that all employees follow these policies without fail. For example, oil drilling and exploration in the U.S. is regulated by the BSEE, Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, as well as the U.S. Coast Guard. This is primarily why all oil rig workers undergo extensive and intensive safety training procedures and have to be certified to work on an oil rig. You have to understand that workers expose themselves to significant risks working in harsh environments and are constantly susceptible to grievous injuries, as they're required to operate, handle, and maintain heavy-duty tools and machinery. In addition, oil workers also need to be trained and prepared to handle critical emergencies, such as rig blowouts, fires, injuries, and evacuations. What are the financial incentives and benefits offered to oil rig workers? There are several reasons why oil rig workers are paid higher than average salaries. It really shouldn't come as a surprise. They work in very dangerous and precarious conditions. They're constantly exposed to injury and have to work isolated from their families for days on end. Let's also not forget the technical specializations specialization and certifications they need to acquire to be eligible to work on oil rigs. Despite being a labor-intensive job, oil workers are educated professionals and not just grunt workers. They're responsible for operating, maintaining, and handling very sophisticated tools and equipment, and have to diligently delegate their tasks and ensure the operation is functioning as close to the deadline as possible. Not to mention, oil drilling involves working with dangerous tools and comprises equally hazardous tasks, which without any warning could easily lead to catastrophic incidents. This is mainly why qualified oil rig workers are offered premium compensation packages. In addition, companies also provide these workers with risk premiums as a way to motivate them to take risks and not be hesitant to work under such dangerous conditions. These companies offer training courses and specializations as a way to help oil rig workers function with safety and effectiveness. What is the career progression of an oil rig worker? The offshore oil industry offers a plethora of career advancing opportunities, providing a way for professionals to earn premium salaries, as well as attain continued professional development and climb the ladder of success. Oil rig workers have the chance to consecutively learn new skills by completing additional specializations and certification programs, allowing them to take on more job responsibilities and possibly being able to place themselves in key leadership roles, which come with even higher pay levels. The offshore oil drilling sector primarily functions and thrives on a well-structured, hierarchical framework, providing various entry-level positions such as roustabouts and roughnecks. At the same time, specialist employees have the chance to work in more demanding, yet technically proficient roles such as drill operators, equipment handlers, maintenance, etc. In addition, there are also high-level designations that are offered, which mainly have to do with managerial functions such as tool pushers and team supervisors. So there you have it, folks, a comprehensive dive into the high-risk, high-reward world of offshore oil drilling. While the payout is pretty cushy, you have to understand that oil rig jobs are not for the faint of heart. It's an extremely difficult profession that comes with plenty of risks.